George Negus again with this week's edition of Dateline. And as you would have just gathered, the program tonight has a recognisably green tinge to it. And it's pure coincidence that Al Gore's been hanging about here this week promoting his film about the effects of global warming. Well, yesterday in the US, the General Motors Corporation unveiled a prototype without a motor that they claim will run 300 k's on a single tank of hydrogen converted to electricity. The critics are already off and running, warning that this new technology is far too expensive and that a hydrogen car won't be mass-produced during our lifetime. The prototype that GM claims is the most significant development since cars were invented comes a decade after GM was also involved in another radical vehicular experiment that saw the makers produce solar-powered electric cars. As you're about to see, these snazzy, clean, green machines were loudly touted as the solution to the globe's ever-increasing pollution problems, not to mention America's unrelenting dependence on Middle East oil. But that grand experiment came to a sudden, shuddering halt. Dateline's David Brill travelled to California to see if he could get to the bottom of this motoring murder mystery.
As the price of petrol goes through the roof, you're looking at the future of motoring, the electric car.
It's your own fuel station, isn't it, really?
It's my own fueling station. Very convenient.
At least that's what electric car evangelist Linda Nichols believes.
You want to go for a ride in my EV?
Yes, please. So where are we going to go?
I'm not sure. We'll just go where the road takes us.
Okay. We're running, are we?
Yes.
We're running?
Yes, we're
It's
running.
very quiet, isn't it?
Yes.
Linda bought her all-electric Toyota RAV4 a decade ago. California wanted to reduce smog and forced its car companies to produce zero-emission vehicles.
One of the things I think I enjoy most is the quiet, no vibration, peaceful ride. I feel very empowered by driving this car. I'm no longer a gasoline junkie.
Linda says her car is a dream come true. When she gets home, she simply plugs it in and recharges the batteries. In a few hours, she'll have enough power to drive about 150 kilometres.
And that's it?
That's it?
Her total electricity bill for the house and 2 electric cars is an astonishing $2 a month. That's because she's covered her roof in solar panels. They generate so much electricity, she sells power back to the grid when she's not plugged in. She says that if she charged her car directly from the grid, it would still only cost the equivalent of 20 cents per litre of petrol.
The beauty of electricity, it's cleaner, it's cheaper, and this is very important. It's domestically produced, and no war has ever been fought for electricity, and even more particularly, no war has ever been fought for solar, and it never will be.
This is a free solar-powered public charging station in Los Angeles. One of a network of stations developed in the 90s to support electric vehicles.
This is one of those electric chargers.
Right.
That basically just push a button in the car and it opens up the charging port right here.
Chris Payne is another electric car enthusiast, but his is the only electric car there. The rest are conventional cars using it as a parking station.
And that's it?
That's it. We used to joke that it only takes 3 seconds to charge an electric car. But I'll want to leave this here for 45 minutes at least to like get a good pop.
If you think all this sounds too good to be true, then you're right. Chris Payne is a documentary maker, and his latest feature is Who Killed the Electric Car?
In 1996, electric cars began to appear on roads all over California. They were quiet and fast, produced no exhaust, and ran without gasoline.
It tells the incredible story of how, after rising to the challenge of producing electric cars in the 90s, California makers dumped the idea soon after.
Keeping America competitive requires affordable energy. And here we have a serious problem. America is addicted to oil.
It's only this year that the American government has realised that driving around in gas-guzzling tanks that depend on foreign oil is not the smartest energy policy.
An electric car says we can use our own energy to power our cars. We don't need to go defend oil in the Middle East. So the fact that the electric car was killed at this moment in history is sort of a double crime.
The star of the film is the EV1, an all-electric two-seater, put on the market by General Motors in 1996. It was futuristic, fast, and by all accounts, adored by all who drove it.
Believe it or not, that sucker goes. That thing will take you down the PCH so fast you could get a ticket.
I did kind of feel like Batman, you know, that sort of like, and the way it takes off out of the cave. You know, I had this gate that opens and it goes.
The EV1 in particular was really special just because it was really cool and fast and fun to drive. And one of the things that GM did so right when they set out to make that car was to absolutely shatter the golf cart myth when it comes to electric cars. So you had this cute...
Chelsea Sexton was part of the General Motors sales team for the EV1. She's now an activist in a campaign to promote electric cars. According to her, General Motors abandoned the EV1 because it threatened the big players in the industry.
You know, what GM didn't count on was those cars being so good they would absolutely challenge the status quo of the auto industry, of the oil industry.
Chris Payne's documentary says that General Motors never really believed in the EV1 and didn't promote its clean, green advantages. In effect, it murdered its own baby.
We made every effort to make a business out of the EV1. We don't spend in excess of $1 billion to set a vehicle up for failure.
Dave Barthmas is Manager of Public Relations at General Motors and says that far from a conspiracy to kill off the electric car, there was simply no mass market for it.
You could only go roughly 100 miles or so before you had to recharge it, and then it took roughly 4 to 8 hours to recharge the vehicle. And for something like that to work for a mass market, you really had to adapt your lifestyle to meet the needs of the vehicle versus a vehicle that's going to meet your needs.
But according to Chelsea Sexton, General Motors was just not committed to making the electric car a success.
In my experience, to sell a car with an ad, you need to show a picture of the car in the ad, tell people where to go to see it, you know, some little facts about the car, that sort of thing helps when you're trying to sell a product. And that stuff was just gone from the advertising. So, yeah, certainly we got indications along the way that they weren't as sincere about this as they'd have people believe.
In the film, people who were working for GM even said that they felt after a year or so that the heart wasn't in GM to continue on with this. They felt it. They weren't getting the support. They weren't getting the advertising or the marketing of it. It was as if you were forced into by the government to do this.
Well, I tell you, there are a lot of emotions within General Motors about the EV1, certainly. It was not an easy decision for us to come to end production and marketing. It was not easy for us to spend well over $1 billion and not recoup our investment. It wasn't easy for us to develop award-winning advertising, set up a unique sales and service force, to have a vehicle that ultimately only generated 800 leases. So in essence, we did everything that we could to grow the market in California, no matter how disappointed and angry some people are over our decision to end production and marketing. There are simply two sides to every story.
Documentary maker Chris Payne concedes that the number of miles in a battery charge was a problem for the EV1 sales.
And a lot of consumers said, no, I don't want a car that only goes 100 miles on a charge. I need something that goes 300 miles on charge. I have a long way to drive. Well, it turns out that most people, especially commuters, but the national average in the States is even everybody, the average miles that you drive a day is 30. So a car that can go 60 miles or 100 miles a day really can work as a perfect second car. In my case, it became like the primary car, very fast. And then you have that gas car for those rare times you really do need the range.
While new and better batteries are in the pipeline, GM says there's still a long way to go.
I have not seen a auto company come out with a battery program that has a vehicle that will have the kind of range and quick charge that's needed to appeal to a mass market at a price point where the common man and woman can afford it on a monthly basis.
Electric car enthusiasts scoff at the affordability arguments. They point out that at the same time the EV1 was dropped, GM was busy promoting the most expensive and biggest gas guzzler of them all, the Hummer.
I know that there are charges made that we kill the electric vehicle program in order to create the Hummer or be able to afford and pursue the Hummer program. Again, there is no conspiracy to cut off the electric vehicle because we wanted to pursue heavier and larger vehicles. People did not demand the EV1 from GM in large enough numbers for us to pursue it.
The Hummer was the ultimate SUV. And in fact, when it came out, you could get up to a $100,000 tax deduction if you were a small business owner for owning one. So the government gave a message to people. The message was, buy these huge monstrosities. Meanwhile, the electric car, when they were on the road, the maximum tax credit you could get was $4,000. So this is how government shapes the future. And unfortunately, the American government was pushing Hummers, and no wonder in some ways the car companies walked away from EVs and concentrated on these Hummers.
For the electric car activists like Linda Nichols, the battle is not over, even though the dream of the EV1 has been lost. The final nail in the coffin came in 2004, when GM trucked away the last of the EV1s to be crushed. Linda and other activists managed to save their cars from the shredder.
This picture was taken in Arizona at GM's Proving Grounds. What you see here is the crusher actively involved in flattening these beautiful little EV1s that are stacked up like so many cords of wood, flattened into useless Coke cans and shredded into a million pieces. These EV1 cars represented a reality that was working and that can work again and needs to work again and will work again. These cars are not dead. Electric cars are just temporarily unavailable. The dream is still alive.
Why did you then recall all the cars and crush them?
Yep.
Why did you do this?
Well, first, no, that we did not recall the vehicles early. Everybody signed a 3-year lease agreement and agreed to what was going to happen at the end of the 3 years as far as turning the vehicle back into General Motors. Yes, the other half of the coin is those vehicles were then sent to the recycler. Now, part of the recycling process involves crushing the stripped body so that it can be shredded and all the various metals could be separated for recycling use. Now, the reason that we did not want to leave the vehicle in the hands of owners after the lease expiration is because we did not have a significant amount of parts to keep the vehicles running safe. There are 2,000...
So you made up your mind at this stage you weren't going to make a spare parts division for that car?
We simply did not have enough parts to keep those vehicles on the road going in a safe manner. We felt it wasn't it was not the right thing to do to allow a vehicle to be left in someone's hands that we didn't have the confidence we needed to know that it would be operated in a safe manner.
The idea of a car maker producing a new model without spare parts sounds almost as implausible as the policy that allowed new cars to be destroyed. In Chris Payne's documentary, a reporter happened across some Honda electric cars just as they were about to be shredded.
And what's interesting, the first thing we noticed when we drove up here You're going to be shredding some new cars here, too. These look like perfectly good cars. Why are you shredding them up?
A little bit of a mystery, really, since I've been here the last 8 years. They bring us these cars from the dealerships, and they say that they're test cars, and they've been brought over to test various emissions, and the insurance companies won't reinsure them, so they have to watch them destroyed here.
Boy, that seems like a shame.
It's terrible.
I'd like to drive off in one of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the sound of a crushed automobile being shredded into a million pieces.
Vehicle. This car might use. It is very good. So you just move to the right environmentally correct.
The death of the electric car has left the market to enthusiasts like John Wayland.
So, you know, it's why burn gasoline when you can run on American electrons?
Exactly. No petrol since 1980.
He and his friends have converted their old petrol cars to electric power.
All batteries. The whole car is batteries, Sharon. Did you hear him turn it on? It's silent.
What's wrong with that car over there? It's got a gasoline engine. That won't start.
This is cute. It is. And these are all the batteries? And the whole front end stuck with them too. Oh, come on, you are on film.
What do you think? Is this
I think it's pretty cool.
Have you seen one before?
No. No, I have not. Not full electric. And I love the way he's got it in an old Datsun.
Did you know that the GM and the big companies were going to make them at one stage, then stop making them?
No, I didn't. But you know, if they make these, then that puts a whole bunch of millionaires out of business, doesn't it?
Drive it. So what do you think of it?
I like it. It's neat. That's neat. I know. Give me that car.
What's going on here today? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electric cars on charge right now. Good. All at the same time. It's the Wayland EV juice bar. Right. You know, this is where you come to suck amps. Yeah, right. This is Suck Amp Central. And if you look in here right now, this is the mighty Zilla Z2K. What's that do? That is the motor controller that divides the amperage from the batteries to the motor. In other words, it's a speed controller. It's like a giant light dimmer, only this one happens to be a 600,000 watt dimmer, 0.6 megawatts. Right. Yeah, it's a lot of juice. This is the Zombie. This is the White Zombie. This happens to be the world's quickest street legal electric door slammer. If you notice, it too has a Zilla controller, a mighty Z2K. It came from the factory with 69 horsepower and about 70 foot-pounds of torque. It now has about 300 horsepower and 772 foot-pounds of torque. Because it has so much torque, we don't need a transmission. Electric motors have full torque at 0 RPM, and they have an abundant amount of torque.
So what do you do here with your electric cars? You've been involved with them for 25 years. You've got your friends around here today, tuning them up for a bit of racing tonight. What's behind all that?
Well, first of all, we don't want to wait for Detroit or Toyota or Nissan. We're not going to wait. We convert our own cars in our backyard. It's not that hard. As long as you can turn a wrench, know a little bit about electricity, you take out all that pollution belching stuff out, you put in electric motor, a motor controller, charger, a little bit of hard work, and you got yourself an electric car. It's not that hard to do. So what we're doing today, though, is that we've turned into, we call ourselves evangelists with a capital EV. We like to show the general public that the electric car isn't dead. Every time we hear of these negative spins going on, we hear news reports that are inaccurate, we like to show people, well, I'm sorry, you're being misinformed.
John Wayland and his mates are obsessed by the same passions as other car nuts, power and speed. Tonight, they're off to that mecca of revheads, the drag racing track.
This car will be racing tonight. It runs a very quick 12.1 seconds in the quarter mile, and generally jerks the tires off the ground and keeps them up in the air for about 50 feet on launch. All on electricity? All on electricity, man. It's the amps, you know. We've got the amps. Jim Armstrong and the Lightning in the right lane.
John's little white Datsun, with a mighty Zilla power converter under the bonnet, is about to show a petrol car a thing or two.
And Brett running our favorite electric car, the right lane. Crazy Abner running Mustang in the left lane.
The EV enthusiasts have obviously solved the power problem. They also say they now have a battery that will last between 400 and 500 kilometres without a charge. But is anybody in Detroit or Washington DC really listening?
Sucker Amp Central. That's the line we're all going to remember. David Brill filming and reporting from California. And we're told that doco, Who Killed the Electric Car with Martin Sheen's unmistakable voice, will be here in Australia in cinemas on November 2. Well, continuing along the eco path, next up we're in France to take a look at an intriguing collaboration between private enterprise and the city of Lyon, where the aim is to reduce car use and promote the humble bicycle as the vehicle of choice. Ginny Stein reports that the innovative French scheme is working like a charm.
In France's second largest city of Lyon, a decades-old idea has been recycled. A public bicycle program that's moved into top gear with the aid of modern technology.
Ici à Lyon, les avantages, c'est de ne pas avoir besoin d'avoir un vélo. C'est pouvoir aller n'importe où trouver un vélo. Donc pas de problème d'entretien aussi du vélo, on en prend un, on le repose.
It's just fabulous. Every now and then you'll come down and there'll be an empty lot, they've all gone. Occasionally you'll come down and there'll be broken ones there, which is a little frustrating, but it's frustration usually only lasts about 5 minutes until someone brings another one back.
And the City Council is claiming that its public bicycle scheme called Velov is doing more than getting people moving. It's also led to a reduction in car traffic.
Already in 2005, the car traffic growth has stopped, and now we are scratching little by little 10% of the car traffic, thanks to Velov, and that's a great achievement.
The idea of public bikes dates back to the 60s in the European cities of Amsterdam and Copenhagen and has since popped up elsewhere, but with limited success as too many bikes went missing.
So if you want to use a bicycle, you just touch here, then you key in your PIN number. This is a simulation, clearly. Then the system is proposing a bicycle, so you select your bicycle, and that's it. I selected bike number 1, so then I have a couple of seconds to activate bike selection.
Jacques Legare helped design the system.
And that's it.
He says that as each user is identified through their PIN number, there's a strong incentive to return the bikes in good condition.
With this agreement with the banks, if the bike is not properly given back or if it is damaged, we have the possibility to take the deposit. So we have that agreement with the bank that in case of problem, the deposit issue is solved.
How much is the deposit?
150 euros.
It wouldn't cover the cost of the bike.
No, it's just a dissuasion issue, really. But it works very well. Huh?
A prepaid card, which costs less than a couple of dollars, allows free rental for the first half hour. After that, it costs about $1 an hour. Almost 90% of all journeys are less than 30 minutes, so it's basically a free ride.
I think it's very, very good. I bought a card for a longer time, which lasts 1 year for 10 euros. And it's very good, especially for students, because we don't have a lot of money.
And this is how the system is tracked. Each bike has an onboard computer.
Nous avons ici la carte électronique, c'est un peu la carte vitale et le passeport du vélo. C'est à l'intérieur de cette carte que nous enregistrons l'ensemble des données de location. Mais c'est également cette carte qui va nous délivrer, lorsque nous retournons le vélo en station, un certain nombre d'alarmes. Par exemple, si les feux ne marchent pas, la carte va nous dire qu'il y a un problème de feu. Si les freins fonctionnent mal, la carte va nous dire que les freins fonctionnent mal. Et donc ce monsieur est chargé à chaque retour de vélo de diagnostiquer si la carte fonctionne et si les autres éléments électroniques du vélo fonctionnent de bonne manière.
There are now more than 2,500 bikes currently in use, with plans to increase that number to 4,000 by next year. Across the city centre, bike bays are positioned within 100 metres of each other. Visiting Australian public health specialist Professor Simon Chapman signed up when he arrived in Lyon. He says the rewards for individuals and the community as a whole are even greater than what's immediately apparent.
Obviously, I'm getting more exercise than I would otherwise get. I'm seeing parts of the town, and so my mental health's improving that I mightn't have ever seen before. And there's a certain conviviality amongst velo riders as well. You know, we sort of give each other a bit of a nod, you know, as we go past. It's a bit of a communal thing.
The scheme came about as part of a commercial deal with an outdoor advertising company. For the right to display their billboards across the city, JC Decaux now runs the bike scheme it created.
As in any tender, it's a full package. So in that package, there were several dimensions. We had to offer, of course, bus shelters. We had to offer some other companion products to bus shelters. We had to offer 2,000 bicycles, 200 bike stations, a server, and all the maintenance for a long-term duration. And we hoped, of course, if our calculations are correct, that the advertising revenues were going to be at the same level, that the expenses linked to that.
1 year on, the Lyon City Council is basking in the scheme's success. They get a well-run public bike scheme for nothing, and it's been a clear vote winner. For the advertising company that pays for and runs the scheme, they get exclusive access to public billboards across the city. Every day in Lyon, bikers make an average of 25,000 trips throughout the city. The collective distance pedalled is more than 40,000 kilometres, which is greater than the circumference of the Earth. High usage means high maintenance. This is where dead bikes come to be brought back to life. More than 60 bikes are repaired at this workshop each day.
Vous m'avez posé la question tout à l'heure sur le problème le plus important sur les vélobes, c'est la roue voilée. Voilà comment on peut retrouver un vélo sur le terrain après l'utilisation.
Mobile repair teams are directed by text messages to individual bays across the city to pick up bikes for repair.
Au niveau personnel, moi, quand je trouve des vélos comme ça me fait de la peine parce que c'est des vélos en fait, qui sont faits pour tout le monde et de les voir traités de cette manière, c'est vrai que ça fait un peu de la peine, quoi. Ça pénalise les autres utilisateurs. Voilà.
City Councillor Gilles Vesco is also a keen advocate and user of the system. He says the program has exceeded all expectations, but the council has worked hard on creating the conditions for it to succeed.
we doubled the number of the stations to put the bike really at disposal of the public at almost every corner of the city. So, you know, that's push and pull strategy. We push the product to the people, and then we create bike tracks and bike lanes, and we created 30 kilometers zones. 4 districts in the core city center of Lyon are 30 kilometers zones. So when you lower the speed, you improve cohabitation.
And for the outdoor advertising company that is behind it all, Lyon is just the beginning. The Belgium capital Brussels has already signed up for a similar deal, and bids are currently being considered for Paris.
The Lyon phenomenon really brought a lot of big cities visiting Lyon just to understand what was happening there. Most of the big cities in the world, in Europe and in the United States too, are very, very interested in this project. So it will be a matter of time, but presumably in 5 years' time, it will be quite common to have that kind of program in most of major cities throughout the world. Yeah. So you only need to press the brakes and the base frees the bike, and then you can go. Okay, bye-bye. See you later.
Finally tonight, another clean and green place, but one with a very different story to tell. The Pacific paradise of Vanuatu has been a glossy destination for the adventure traveller for years now. But how much do its entranced visitors get to learn about the local culture and customs? We sent Bentley Dean, who, by the way, filmed the award-winning documentary The President versus David Hicks, to the Vanuatuan island of Tanna, where the age-old belief in the notion of a cargo cult still has its followers. And this belief has led to a clash between a chief and a self-styled prophet over who's the best person to lead a revival of traditional custom on the island.
This is a story about the power of spiritual beliefs and their complex interaction with the modern world. On the volcanic island of Tanna in Vanuatu, traditional beliefs and the cultural practices of millennia, known here as custom, still dominate daily life. On Tanna, those beliefs include the John Frum movement.
Long for the story, more big story, John. We have now hemi look hemi come Lotana. Then the time ya all Presbyterian church, you can some custom, culture. You can some, hemi no andem se poem for them talker. You know andem se poem for them custom, circumcised, kakai long woman. Kill moment long to kolong natin nakaman. You plug a something. Or stone magic blow more rain or sun and emi blow. Long time, John hemi look say by custom by loose.
It's unclear whether John Frum was ever a real person. Chief's Isaac father regarded John Frum as a prophet who came to the island in the 1930s to preach a return to custom.
But then we start with Papa, and we want spread, and me.
John Frum had prophesied the end of colonial rule, and when the Japanese invaded the Pacific, the British and the French fled. John Frum's prophecy had come true. But the Tannese were unconcerned about the Japanese invasion because John Frum had made another prophecy, the arrival of the Americans to save their culture.
Now when him with John Hemitalem, or look proof with Margai kami kim flag. He helped him all gata, or he come back to the president, or he pull him, he save him custom. từ đâu mới mấy gạt đi. Nếu như thế thì nó chả câu đã đến gạt từ tôi muốn sống má bữa. Osma. Harus setelah kasus. Dia rampak. Kan dia cuma kena jus selalu ketua dengannya lalu ni lalu.
Every year on the 15th of February, Chief Isaac presides over John Frum Day, a chance to remember his prophecies and call on the Americans to return.
Long US kim flag, Marine mo Navy wala kim flag. Long Papa mo pupu, fly game by fly karami ko pak. Long island plong you, ale you pulang. Sa boss US no kai. Here to this siapa ni ami kai. Stan midukluk se. Vanuatu ya pat long US, o tanah pat long US. From time long World War II mereka ikam lo tanah ikaram 1,000 people long tanah iko long war. Help them. American long war World War II. Mereka se tanah ami pat long mereka.
Matharang mo titel matingin na buwan. Mini na buwan. Yokoto ni na buwan na tidara yaneta ni mate.
Further down the hill, a splinter group of the John Frum movement has grown. They have a new living prophet who's known as Prophet Fred. He wants to end what he sees as an obsession with America. He also wants to reintroduce Christian beliefs. He calls his breakaway movement unity and preaches that John Frum, Jesus Christ, and custom are one.
Watam fly ra America, watam ra fly ra Africa, watam ra fly ra France, watam ra fly ra English. Kani metau tamuro yura fly ra Ibari. Fly ra customer ita tolok lan Ibari. Kalau menangajen nama nama yang kayak nama, menangajen lan ko kakarobet di depan afal rafil. Takani kamta, mama 15 February yung yakawugunu wag itarafin ko kawugunu maka thank you.
Fred began gaining followers after accurately predicting the lake under the volcano would burst and flood the village in 2000. With his prophecies verified, Fred gathered about 1,000 disciples, almost half of Chief Isaac's village, and left to set up another village nearby.
Suppose you tell him say plogum ren, emi plogum ren. Suppose you tell him say sanigam sanigam. Samedi now me proof Prophet Fred lem, you know, tell him one samedi. Fred lem. Say one prophet man.
Two leaders, Chief Isaac and Prophet Fred, are now in open confrontation.
Mimi want them say Fred mo all man blame only out only kolong bless the church. Only stop long bless the church. Only live one place the church movement. From before place the church. We pro movement, long John. From now, yeah, all custom, all low custom, he stop town, he hide. Low white man, he cover my pole. Pay me tell him say temple custom now. Custom by control the wall. Life all kata where white man stop long him tell him say you mean no sabe something or you mean stupid. But if he come back, stand up strong, look at them long ifala, hold him tight. But all friend blame me, Marka by one day, Marka, or he stop promise no more long Marka, one day Marka by helping me. And he tell him Kagu Kalsa, and he tell him say one day Marka came independent blame me, or one day Marka came Kakulo you me, came him plan or track or any something bad Marka helping me.
Mr. Look say Bombay come long whether United States look no me. Mr. Look say maybe no. Now yellow millennium. All Mr. Look say spirit me look say fly ya. He got planned the problem. United Nations you want them put them peace. You want them bring him unity. But he got planned the murder. Planned the money dead. Planned the country only sour. From big bifala. A bomb or blande something. So he stopped so him out finish say fly ya Bombay in no longer. Bombay in no more power. But he got one hour of la fly. We must have a rule. All people to rule
Blomi, mi anamo mi come putum long church, we go inside. Me ask him, God say you give him ya. I give him. Me ask him, God say you give him ya. You give him, you ask him, God say, you give him, yeah, you give him.
Suppose or not from the place, only can it. But lucky long me tell him no.
Last year, the dispute broke into open fighting. Isaac called in the Vanuatu mobile force to eject Fred and his followers from disputed land they had settled on the side of the volcano.
Le alikarami where you come look me le ma le ali butuman kap no hand me.
Up on top of the mountain, Farmer's house, and you've been cooked fini. 500.
Several months ago, there was another attack. Fred's house was burned down along with the church. Now his followers are gathering to open a new building. Even at this ostensibly Christian ceremony, some of Fred's followers are possessed by traditional spirits and will remain in a trance for hours.
I'm in Washington DC. More old big man, only make him road. And me move along White House one Sunday. But from Sunday, Clinton in got long, stop long office. After me go visit them head office no more. Me go talk inside long head office long Washington with the General Secretary long President Clinton. Me meet him plan the all big man. And me part long USA.
And all big man lo government lo USA. Emi happy lo this program.
Yes, some fella only sabe. Some fella only sabe only happy. But more te plante oli no sabe. More America oli no sabe. But plante oli sabe, oli send them flag American flag ikam. Continue ikam. But oli so me happy. But no more no got something. Flag no more. Flag no more. You know got one port, you got one track, you got one wolf, you got one something. For me wait long time.
Fred is also waiting, and relations between the two groups are still hostile. It's leading to a more apocalyptic prophecy.
Win sta kili molman, folkunu sta spole molman, inogat kakai. Win kili me every man every year win sta kaparkan. By life lo mi fala sem, kifu el sta walk, by tomorrow after tomorrow you go week you go, by one man by day.
Margay forget. Margay you must continue to hell. Panamo Margay forget me. But Mr. Armstrong long promise, no joke.
And Johnny Bacam.
Pampaikan. Suppose mereka Pampai forget the money Tony Talam. Pampai more problem Pampai happen.
And the moral of that story, well, if you ask me, don't get too close to an angry volcano. Bentley Dean perched on the edge there with Chief Isaac, and who said politics in paradise couldn't be complex. Next week, who is this guy Sol Trujillo? We know he's the American currently running this country's largest corporation, and he's nothing if not controversial. But what do we really know about the way he does business and the companies he's previously been involved with? Before becoming the boss of Telstra, Trujillo ran a huge telco in the States, US West. But detractors dubbed it US Worst.
What they did to their customers is really pretty appalling.
And that view, it seems, is shared by rural America as well.
If we had a need of an ambulance or a fire truck or the county sheriff's office for some reason, we had no means in which to get a hold of them.
Well worth holding on the line for, if you'll pardon the phone pun. Till next time, from us here at Dateline, ciao.